Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voxel Voicecast. It's Monday, April 2nd, and I'm your host, Ryan Shepard. Today with me, we've got Derek.
Hey, what's going on?
We've got Redbeard.
How's it going, everybody?
And we got Lee from across the ocean.
Evening.
How's everyone doing today?
Morning.
Pretty good.
Good.
It's one of those days. Feel really tired.
Yeah, it's a Monday. Yeah, we had I had some technical issues on Thursday, our normal day, and we're actually rescheduling this from our normal Thursday anyway because I'll be going to PAX East on Thursday, and we won't be able to make that. But if this is the first time I've brought it up to my co-hosts here, if we're all up to it, we can do another episode next week, next Thursday, and I can talk about what I did at PAX, and we can take more questions and stuff like that.
Sounds good to me.
All right,
That
cool.
definitely works.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so we've got a kind of busy episode going on today. We're going to talk a little bit of Far Cry 5. We've all been playing it, and we've got some things to say about it. And like usual, we're going to take questions from ones we've solicited from the Facebook group and ones that we just take live in chat here. So if you've got anything to ask, you can ask our opinions on Far Cry once we get started here. Any questions you have about that, and then once we get to the regular questions, we'll kind of go back and forth between what we got from Facebook and what we got from what we can pull from the chat. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So Far Cry 5 came out last week, and I feel like this is probably one of the bigger games coming out in the spring that a lot of people were excited for. I think that's a fair statement. And I've always liked the Far Cry games. Have you guys kept up with them? I think I've played just about every one, even the original Crytek one that was quite a lot different than what we play today.
I think the last one and only one I played was, I think, Far Cry 2 on PC.
Okay, so you didn't play 3 or 4?
No, my brother played 4, and he enjoyed it, and that was his first one playing. So once I saw 5 was coming out and that it was based like here in the States, I was like, yeah, definitely getting this.
Cool. Yeah, Far Cry 2, that was a tough game. There's a lot of weird stuff in that game. A lot of stuff that they have not, in both positive and negative, not carried over to the future games. 3 was probably the one that established their formula that they've been running with for 3, 4, Primal, 4 games now. And that's that's a pretty popular one. What about Red? How many? What are you? I know you've played them pretty much all of them, haven't you?
I played 3, 4, Primal, and this one.
Okay. All right, so you're the opposite of Derek then.
Yeah. I didn't play 2, but I've enjoyed them. I actually liked Primal too, where I think most people were not.
Yeah, I wasn't too big on Primal. Too much crafting.
But I think the only complaint I ever have with these games is that I like the third-person view, and you don't get that coming across very often. So
no, not in Far Cry.
Yeah,
so pretty
which
much
is annoying. Makes driving a pain in the ass.
Yeah, driving's. Stephanie can talk about driving if she wants to. I actually don't.
She has the biggest complaints there on driving.
Maybe that's why you liked Primal, Red, because there's no driving.
I think that is why
Yeah.
it is. You don't drive anything.
Yeah.
There.
Did you ever end up riding any animals in that one?
In Primal?
Yeah, did like ride woolly mammoths or something? I don't. I
don't
didn't play enough of that game.
Ride anything?
No.
If you were able to, I don't remember. It's been a while since I played it. But you did have a companion with you. You could tame and have a bear or a wolf or saber-toothed tiger with you, which was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, they added companions. I don't think they had them in 4, did they?
No, I think
I don't believe
Primal
so.
was the first one.
I
Primal
think
was the first one.
Yeah, Primal was the first one, and they kind of added that into this one.
Yeah.
Speaking of companions, I can't stand them in this game because the second your guy gets killed, they're gone, and I can't find them anymore.
Yeah, I haven't quite wrapped my head around the companions yet. I'm still trying to figure out which. Obviously, I got the dog, which is the one I've been keeping most
How'd
of the
you
time.
get the dog? I haven't figured that out yet.
Oh, there's just a
You
mission.
gotta do yeah, there's a quest.
Yeah, he's like they're like got him locked up in a cage, and you gotta free him, and then you got him in your roster. He's cool.
that's
Like
nice.
the enemies aren't alerted when they see him, and you can like kind of like stealth. You can sick him on an enemy, and it's like a stealth kill.
I'm gonna have to get that guy.
Yeah,
Get
he's
that
pretty
little
good.
puppy.
What
Yeah, I
about
guess
you,
some
Lee?
of
What's
it- you
your
look for quests.
Far Cry history?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, from the first one, actually. Well, more iterations of the first one. The kind of, he's also mutated beastie, like evolution and instincts. All those ones. Those
Okay, so
iterations of it. So
those are like
I'm used to it changing a lot, I guess.
those were the versions of the first game that they released on console, right?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
2, I believe, on Xbox, and there was a really shitty one on Wii that didn't work very
Okay.
well as well, called Vengeance,
Uh,
which I've also played. But yeah, but I've gone all the way through with all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. The only one I was really not hot on was 2. I thought kind of some of the things I liked that they've never done again. Malaria may have been a bit of a mistake.
yeah.
And the weapon degradation was not a good idea. People that give something like Zelda shit about weapon degradation don't understand what it's like to fire about 5 bullets from a gun, then have it rust on you. That was
Yeah,
horrible.
that was-
I did
that
not
was-
like 2 at all.
That was definitely. I think for me it was the malaria thing where you had to keep
Yeah.
you had to keep getting that medicine and making sure you had it. Yeah, I mean there are people that are like diehard Far Cry 2 fans that think that's like one of the best open world games because of those mechanics, because of those random things, and how it can just totally change the game on a moment's notice without you having any control over it. I
It's
don't like it
impenetrable
very
for a lot
much.
of people that go in, and so they go, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I think people gravitate towards that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not very easy access, like maybe 3, which is probably the simplest one of them. I think 3. It's probably the most stripped down. Actually, maybe this one's the most stripped down. But,
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that probably this one's the most straightforward. I think Primal was probably, in terms of like all of the extra stuff you had to do, like building their base and everything like that. That was probably the more complicated one. But yeah, 3 was pretty straightforward too, and it's basically the formula they've gone with for all of them. My favorite was 4. I just like the setting. I like the characters. I like flying around in that little buzzard. That was fucking awesome.
Something
Anyway,
didn't quite connect with it before. I'm not quite sure what it was. It was good, but maybe it's a little bit too similar to the previous one. Maybe.
yeah, it was definitely an iteration on Far Cry 3. It played it safe, but it kind of took all of the elements and upped them a little bit, like refined them. Anyway, Far Cry 5. I've been playing this. I've got so the way this one's built out is you got like 3 regions. The map's broken up to 3 regions, and you gotta like liberate each region. And I've got the first of the 3 completely unlocked. And I think the game started off real strong. Like the opening of this game is pretty cool. Like if you don't know, takes place in Montana, the United States, and it's based around you're like a sheriff's deputy that gets trapped in this area controlled by this militant cult, and there's like this charismatic religious leader called the leader is Joseph,
father.
right?
The father. Yeah, Joseph. Yeah,
Joseph.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. I get Joseph and John confused. But yeah, so Joseph is like the father. He's like the leader of the cult, and then he's got these subordinates that are his couple of brothers, and it says his sister, but I guess it's like she's like adopted or something like that. It was very weird with the wording on exactly what the girl is, but yeah. So you get trapped. Like I don't know how that works, like how you actually get trapped in a place and not able to get out. Like I understand that they're like keeping it buttoned down and everything like that, but I just can't imagine actually in the United States getting trapped in a huge region like that and not being able to just like kind of walk out. Yeah. I'm just gonna walk out. This is a road that goes out of this town, and I'm just gonna take it and walk. But anyway, you're trapped there, and you kind of got to take down this
helicopter.
Right, a helicopter, a plane, which are all in this game, truck, anything. Yeah, I mean this is actually the first time that they've done a like a real world location in Far Cry. I mean, I guess Far Cry 2 took place in Africa, but they didn't really specify exactly where. But like Far Cry 4 was like a fake, like Himalayan country. Far Cry 3 was an island like in the Pacific, I guess, is we're assuming. And Primal, of course, took place way back in like prehistoric times. Yeah. So yeah, this is like the first time, and what about going on in the chat? Lots of laughs.
Stephanie made a comment about the fact that she felt awful trying to kill John the Baptist on Easter.
Oh right, yeah. You know what's funny? I just killed John yesterday in my campaign. In the campaign, that's what I did yesterday. So I guess I kind of did that.
We'll see how that pans out for you.
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we're all gonna beat the game. You're gonna be damned to hell.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. So this is the first time it takes place in a real world setting, and I feel like it's kind of, in a way, at least for me, I'm kind of critiquing it in a little bit more of a harsher way than I would if it was a fictitious setting. Obviously, it doesn't help that I live in the United States and realize that there wouldn't be this many people to kill out in Montana. Like, they wouldn't...
It'd be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're all wearing the same clothes, of course. They're all wearing white clothes. Right. They all got mullets and mustaches.
You think they would at least mess with the colors or something, you know?
They do as the game goes on. They start putting in different kinds of enemies, like stronger enemies and stuff like that. But yeah, they all look exactly the same.
Yeah, they went like super overboard with like the redneck hillbilly type thing going on.
Yeah, they definitely leaned in with that. I mean, that's where it takes place, so there's going to be some of that. But
you mean Merle?
Yeah, Merle. And I don't even. This is where I am with the story and the characterization, is I barely know any of the characters' names. Because I think
business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like outside of that,
I got a friend that lives in Montana.
Yeah.
And he just started playing, so it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about it.
Yeah, if he feels like
you should get some video clips of that.
An accurate representation of. I hope it's not. Because shit, that's a scary place. Yeah, I feel like outside of, at least for me, outside of the intro, the story just kind of fallen flat for me. I don't think they went in an interesting direction with the characters and what's actually going on. In fact, every time the story kind of pops up while I'm playing, I'm kind of like, let's get out of this so I can get to what I actually want to do, which is run around the open world and watch all of the crazy systems collide and kind of fall apart in front of my face. Because that happens.
So Ryan, we got a comment there in the comments chat area saying, I think Far Cry 5 is the first real world location. Is a bit of a misnomer, no?
No. Yeah, I see that. Far Cry 4 was based on Nepal, but it was not actually Nepal. It was a fictitious country. I forget what they called
Cryat.
it.
No, was it Cryat?
Yeah, Cryat. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
KRYAT or something like that. Kirat.
Yeah, something
KY.
like that.
Yeah.
Cryat, yeah.
So it was based in that region.
Yep.
Like, so it was based on a railroad place, like that kind of Himalayan region, but it wasn't an actual real location. Whereas this is, I don't know if Hope County is actually a location in Montana, but Montana is definitely a real place.
Yeah.
Trying to say that Blood Dragon is not geographically accurate.
No, Blood Dragon.
No.
Actually, the first real world location that was the United States in about 5 years. So.
I like the neon though, so I'll take it.
Yeah. That's I do like the neon, the cyberpunk. So I'm actually rooting for that. I could do with less blood dragons, honestly. Less giant robot dragons.
Hope County isn't real, by the way.
Okay.
It's fictitious.
Yeah, so that's my take on the story. I don't know if anyone else feels the same or different.
Yeah, the story kind of like pops up like here and there. I find myself like I love the prepper stashes.
Yeah,
so do I. So do I.
Yeah, that's definitely for me the best part of the game so far.
Yeah, like they've all been a lot of fun to try to like figure out how to get into, and like the one I went into today, like you flip the switch and the whole place starts to like explode. So you got to try to find your stash and then make it out of there because it's rigged.
Okay. I'm getting reports that the video may be freezing for some people.
Yeah, it looks like it just started doing it over here.
Yeah, it's been doing it for me the whole time. But I thought that was just mine because we're streaming at the same time and I'm watching it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it could be an issue. My bandwidth, but is the seems like the audio is okay.
Audio's coming out fine. It's just the video.
Huh. Okay. Well, hopefully it gets a little bit better.
No, people. This is how the video actually plays in Far Cry.
Yeah. This is the actual frame rate. So I mean, the game's got problems.
It looks like it's all of OBS.
What's that?
Far Cry.
Yeah, it's not just Far Cry. It's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe maybe it has to do with the way I'm playing the video. Let me turn it off for a second. We'll see. You can let me know if it
Stay tuned.
gets better.
They said the audio.
No. I'm turning off just the video, the gameplay. We can still talk. Yeah. So the prepper stashes are pretty cool. Definitely, they're like mini puzzles. They remind me kind of like the tombs in the latest Tomb Raider games, like just kind of little side activities that you get a little bit of bonus stuff from. I mean, it's one of the places where you get a lot of the perk points that you use to upgrade your character.
And the story missions where you get marked and then they come out to try to capture you, and they eventually, like, if you get hit by a bullet, you get like kind of knocked out and brought into a story mission. Those were pretty fun too.
I think one of my biggest problems with the game so far is you'll be going through somewhere and you just get spotted.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter what, a plane passes over and you're spotted, and it's like, how do I hide? You know, unless you're in a building, you're screwed. You know.
Yeah. That is the plane is absolutely the worst part of this game for me so far.
It's not the worst. The worst for me is when I'm in the middle of stealthing around a base and trying to take everybody out, and I'm right down the scope of my sniper rifle, and all of a sudden a Wolverine comes up and attacks me and kills me.
Oh yeah, well that happened in Far Cry 4. That was one of the more annoying things in Far Cry 4. Is like yeah, you'd be trying to stealthily take out an outpost, and all of a sudden a tiger would be right on top of you, and it would almost happen. It would almost happen like it was planned that way. Like it seemed random, but it was like every time it would happen.
Yeah,
and that was just that got really annoying.
It looks like they said they're losing sound now, and it got worse.
I can see
it. The video. Okay.
I don't know. There's nothing I can do. Except try restarting the stream. I don't know what
totally
the
up to
problem
balance itself out.
You able to check your bandwidth?
Oh, actually, you know what? I am dropping a lot of frames here. I wonder why. Let's see. It's okay there. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the stream, and we'll be back in a second. Hopefully, I can get it sorted out. I don't know. Maybe my bandwidth's not great. All right. So Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
We've all been playing it. Let's go through and talk about. No, I think we can probably move on from Far Cry 5. Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to say about it.
Fuck the Wolverines. That's all I got to say.
Right.
Fuck those damn Wolverines.
Yep.
Bears.
Fuck the Wolverines. Fuck the plane. Yeah, man. I guess that's what we were talking about, was how annoying that plane is.
Yeah.
Just like Red was saying, I was doing an outpost and I was doing stealthy all the way through, like for 10-15 minutes, taking everybody down. And then the plane just flew over and immediately spotted me, and the alarms went off, and it turned into a giant shit show.
Planes.
And yeah, this is the first time they've had something like that in the game, where there's like this overseeing, like all-seeing eye, kind of like eye Sauron kind of bullshit going on. And I think they need to revisit that and kind of balance it out, because I think right now it's a little bit too obnoxious. Although it is really fun taking helicopters out as you parachute down.
That shot was awesome.
I haven't done the parachutes yet. My first attempt with a plane in a game, I went and jumped out thinking, yeah, you get the parachute right away. Nope.
Yeah.
Dead.
I haven't been airborne yet, so we'll see when that happens.
But they also have the wingsuit too. Is that any fun?
Yeah, they've had the wingsuit. Is this the first one they've had the wingsuit in?
Second.
Did they have it? They had
3 was the hang glider.
Okay, 4 did 4 have the wingsuit?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the wingsuit's pretty fun. You can pretty much fly.
It's no Just Cause wingsuit though, is it?
No, it's probably not as crazy as that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I keep going back and forth on the game. Last night I kind of burned out on it.
I want to play it, but I told them the streamers that the one streamer I think, which is myself, has been watching it, that I was going to stream every part of it. So I want to play it, but I can't get the noise reduction in my house in order to stream it without hearing, "Stop it! Don't hit me!" So,
which is in addition to what you're already hearing in Far Cry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of what we touched on a little bit before. Like, the systems, they just kind of, once they start really popping off and colliding in this game, they don't come together in a way that is, in my opinion, super satisfying. It's just kind of like uncontrolled chaos.
Yeah.
And normally I'm all for that kind of stuff, but there always has to be some level of control over it. Like I need to be able to feel like I'm in control and not just going to get screwed over every time I start. You can just walk down the road and all of a sudden there's like 5 trucks on you, and they just keep coming down the road, and which has happened in other Far Cry games, but it doesn't seem to be as like pervasive as it is in this one.
This one, it's definitely up in your face. Like you'll just get done taking out and you've got like 2 more coming behind that in that one spot.
Yeah, and then add in the addition of that plane or helicopter that keeps popping up every now and again, and it's like you're constantly having something on your ass that you have to take out, and there isn't even a chance to breathe, you know. And it sucks because this game, it's beautiful. I think it's a great, amazing looking game. They did a hell of a job, like, you know,
visually.
The fields and the towns and everything feel like it's actually taking place where they say it's taking place. And there's been a few times where I've been able to just kind of chill out and enjoy the scenery, so to speak. But I wish there were a few more. I wish like I could turn it, it would be really awesome if they did like what they did with Assassin's Creed Origins and kind of put in a mode like a walk in the park mode or something like that, like the scenic route, where you turn off all of the enemies and all of the combat and everything like that, and you can just kind of like walk around and watch the wildlife run around and watch the sunset and shit like that. Hop on a plane and fly around without having to worry about being harassed.
Yeah.
I find myself fishing and hunting a lot. I mean,
fishing. I haven't got to try that yet.
The fishing is. I don't like the fishing because mostly you'll find the same fish in the same area and you don't really get. You kind of get unlucky with that, and it's really easy to catch a fish. I mean, it's really hard to break a line. So, I do and don't like the fishing. I think it should be a little bit more difficult, and I think they should have taken away from the Final Fantasy game. You know, Ubisoft has obviously worked together with, you know, the creators of Final Fantasy. So, in that aspect, I think they should have gone and worked with them as long as the fishing went. Because the fishing in Final Fantasy was awesome. I don't know if you guys played that part or did.
No, the fishing was definitely really good.
Yeah. Hunting and fishing, and then the hunting, I have a problem with this. When you shoot a buck in the head with the fucking sniper rifle, I think it's going to go down. This one, you gotta like peg. It's still running away.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Going back to turkeys, I know that firsthand. That no matter how many times you peg a turkey with a friggin' sniper rifle, it's still coming at you.
Seriously.
So the other thing is that one of the big changes that they made with this game is that they changed hunting to be something that you needed to do in order to like you used to craft things, you used to craft ammo pouches, you used to craft health items and things like that, and they completely took that out. Now you can still hunt and skin animals, but you only get money in return. They replaced that with a perk system where you get like XP for doing things, but and completing challenges like kill this many things with this gun, and you also find like magazines in the world that give you perk points.
You also get them from the arcade games when you do PvP, just in case.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked any of that out yet.
I don't mind that. It eliminates the grind of trying to open the perks, because that was a problem with the old one. Really grindy.
Well,
see,
you get them every other level, so.
I'm the opposite. I liked the distraction. Like I liked it being something that I could go do, as opposed to having to grind outposts or just like mainline the story or side missions. It was like, okay, I did a couple missions. I'm gonna go hunt some bears or something, and I'm gonna get some skins. I'll get a bigger wallet or something like that.
Yeah.
And at this point right now, the only reason that for me wildlife is in this game is to kind of be an annoyance. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden there's a bear on you or something like that. And you're like,
Wolverine.
I'd say it's almost more annoying than losing
or
your
a
weapon,
skunk.
because that's my biggest complaint is accidentally
that?
swapping out your weapon when you're
Oh
looting.
yeah, that's been a pain in the ass. One time I accidentally grabbed like a pistol on the ground, and I threw a gun, and a hostage I had just freed immediately picked up my custom AR. It was just,
Yeah.
and
I
then
had,
there's no way to get it back. You can't
I
be like,
lost one through a wall. Like it said loot,
Oh,
so I
really?
was looting what's ever there, and all of a sudden my gun was gone.
yeah,
And it's just a wall.
Yeah.
And I've gone straight for like the prestige weapons because I wish I would have like realized this earlier. They're only like a couple thousand more than what you're looking to buy, and they're way better.
yeah.
So I've got I just got the American assault rifle today,
Okay.
and the silencer on that. But I wish I would have known that in the beginning. Just go straight for those, get the silencer on it, the extended clip, and a sight you like, and you're set.
Yeah, that's what you go
And
for
then-
everything.
And then give it to some NPC by accident.
Yep.
Oh
Hey, take
my
take
god.
this custom paint job AR that I spent thousands of dollars on.
I'm fine with the Wolverines. I'm fine with all the other problems in the game, but the throwing of the weapons, like here.
Yeah, and then
It's really annoying.
The idiot picks it up, and then you can't just be like, "Hey, bro, can you give me my gun back?" No. Oh, it's his now.
I
Yeah,
love throwing the shovels though.
No,
It's
you're like
so
sitting there
satisfying.
searching around trying to find out where the hell you threw your weapon at.
Right, and there's so much junk on the ground, like other weapons and stuff.
Yeah, it's like son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that balance because with open world games for me, I like taking my time. I like poking around. I like exploring as much as I can. And this game feels like it has a little bit more exploration and things to find between point A and point B than some open world games do. Like I had a big problem with that with like Horizon Zero Dawn. It felt like there was nothing in between the points you were going to, as much as there seems to be in like you talk about like a Bethesda RPG where every single settlement you come across, there may not be a quest or people there, but there's something to find. You go in, you like in Fallout, you
find a random book or something.
Yeah,
you
you scavenge through everything. You find parts, you find weapons, you find something, and that's what I like in open world games is like a little bit of flavor in there. And this is the first Far Cry that I've played that I feel like there's definitely at least some people on that team, and you can see it, especially with the prepper stashes, that somebody's taking time and realizing that you can't just lay down textures for miles and miles and put dots in between them and call that a game. You have to add a little bit of, you have to add some content in the middle of it, so when you're walking to it, it feels like it's a living, real place.
Right. And then we got a question here real quick from the chat, dealing with the map editor system for it. I haven't got to play with it yet, but from what I've been reading online and following some of the groups, people have made some crazy stuff.
There's been some interesting stuff. Now, I have played not with the editor as much as I've seen these arcade games, and there are some really, I mean, they've copied things from D-Day. Okay.
Yeah, they've done DE Dust 2 from Counter-Strike.
There's a Resident Evil map. There is.
They made the Baker's
Siege.
Mansion for 7.
They made the Siege. The Rainbow Six Siege map. They made like every game you can think of that there's been out, they made a copy of it into this little editor and made it where you had to, you know, work and kill whatever NPC or play against each other or whatever. And it's not just player versus player. You might have like a mission type thing where, like I said, the Resident Evil, where you got zombies attacking you. And though they don't look like the zombies, they look like the hillbillies, you know, with the gaseous green fumes coming from them. You still have that. But it, from what I've seen, I haven't played with the editor either. It is infinite, the possibilities. And I think they kind of pushed this game off with that in mind to fall back on if people aren't enjoying the story as much. So that's my take on it.
Have you explored like the tools to make your own maps, or you just played people's maps?
I played people's maps. I thought about messing with the tools to make my own. But that's just taken way too much time away from actually playing the game, which I want to do. So
yeah,
perhaps in a few weeks after I've gotten at least halfway through the game, I might do that, and we can bring that back and talk about it again.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. They've actually had map editors for a while on Far Cry, and I really haven't checked them out too much, but I heard a lot of good things about this one. They like they brought it into the actual single player game, so they must have felt like they were confident enough to kind of like showcase it a little bit.
It's really good. Anything from what I can tell from it, anything that you've seen in the actual game, you can put into this actual editor. So the sky's the limit, you know.
And they were given stuff from other games as well. Like you're supposed to get set pieces from Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and there's one or two other games they mentioned. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's a lot. Anything that's, you know, Ubisoft. The sky's the limit, like I said. I saw what looked like an old Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 type map on there. I was like, is this Assassin's Creed or Far Cry? So it looks
cool.
pretty cool.
I mean, there's so many people out there that are like proficient with that kind of stuff to build those kinds of things. It's cool that games give them the tools to do it.
Well, okay, so coming from, you know, you guys have seen me on here with Ryan before, knowing that I have a gaming industry background. I think the reason they do this is that you see all these things out here and you get this editor to someone and watch when somebody makes something so cool, you're like, you're going to come work for us.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a good way to actually publicize your, hey, we might be looking for people, or, oh, we can grab from the community. Maybe that person doesn't have a job or wants a job to come work with us, and we can bring them in.
Either that or they're like, I hope you read the terms of service, because anything you make in here we can use without your permission.
Right.
That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah.
That one person's like, son of a...
I think just to wrap up Far Cry, I think this is probably going to go down as kind of like they're figuring stuff out phase in their lifetime and their lifespan.
It's right in the middle for me.
I hope when, obviously they're going to come back to Far Cry. It's a huge franchise for them. But I hope when they do, they bring it back like they did with Assassin's Creed Origins. Like, not completely rewrite the book, but change the systems enough to make it a fresh experience, because I think by and large, Origins kind of
I think it was awesome.
Surprised everybody that like they did it. They figured out how to make Assassin's Creed kind of relevant again, because it was kind of middling. And that's kind of where Far Cry is right now, in my opinion. So I think next Far Cry 6, whatever it is, I hope that they take that same approach that they did with Origins and kind of like keep the feel and everything the same, but start to rewrite some of the rules. And I'm actually looking forward to some of the DLC, because it looks like if they spend the time that they spent on like the prepper stashes and little moments in this game, and they can take something like make like a blood dragon version of that, like a smaller scale kind of thing with these expansions they're putting out. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah,
And
I
then
can't wait for that space one.
yeah, the Mars one's definitely my the one I'm looking forward to the most. Did anyone else have anything they want to add about Far Cry before we move on to questions?
I know that Derek and Derek in chat brought up whether or not we feel as though the game developers are lazy with the games. With this one, I'd say kinda, as you guys brought up with all the problems and bugs it's having, and you can just patch it later. But
yeah,
I think this is the game.
Yeah, I don't really like to use the term lazy because I don't think that game developers that actually is a
I wouldn't call them lazy. I don't know what term you would call it.
Everything's starting to get so big, and with sandboxes, there's so many variables to it that they can't possibly pinpoint how every single thing's gonna
the problem is
come together.
The problem I think most people don't realize is you think of Bethesda or you think of Ubisoft or you think of all these companies and you think that it's like 150, 250 people working on one game. It's not. It's usually about 15 to 20 people working on one game, and that encompasses everything. So there might be one person that models every single one of those characters.
So Ubisoft actually has like thousands of people that touch their games.
Yes, but as far as
Bethesda Softworks is like 100-man team that works on those games. So like your Oblivions and your Skyrims, they have a pretty small team, relatively.
Yeah, but you gotta think of the size. It's not as big as I think people would think it is. It's not the entire company working on one game. There are multiple games coming out. Like you had Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, all those. There are different sources and different teams working on that within the actual company. So
personally, I think the size of Ubisoft is actually a detriment to these games. The way that a lot of teams do work on it and single visions can't get through. And going back to the prepper stashes, you can see that there's some people there that know that this is what the future of like these open worlds need to be. There needs to be these kind of little vignettes that pull you out of the huge giant open world. And unfortunately, they're not the ones calling all the shots. The thing that drives it is you got to have the like Derek was talking about, the AR with the custom paint job, because that's what people are going to want. That's what people are going to want in their game. They're going to want to watch with that for the entire game, and they're going to pay because there is like a premium currency in this game that you get.
I haven't messed with that at all.
You get quite a bit of it during the actual playing the game, but you can like buy with real money buy I think it's either gold or silver bars or something like that.
I believe
it's silver bars.
Yeah, silver bars or platinum bars or something like that.
Yeah. So instead of like something costing like $9,000 from in-game, it's like 40 silver bars.
I brought this up when we were talking about Assassin's Creed Origins. It's something that Ubisoft has been doing with their games where you have a choice of whether or not you buy it from using that silver or whatever it is as the currency and buying it with real money, or you can bust your chops and earn it in the game. And I think that's one thing I commend them about the most with the last two games that they've released.
They seem to have thought about how to implement the microtransactions without them being super intrusive.
I wish other games would take a hint.
I gotta be honest, the last like 2 years of Ubisoft have been kind of incredible, the way that they've supported their game and turned them into like kind of turned the software as a service thing and made it their own with like Wildlands and Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. I don't play those games, but I do watch them and like not watch people play them, but see how they support those games, and it's like in a lot of ways they figured it out where some of these other publishers they're struggling.
Yeah, even with like the division has changed completely from what it was
Right,
day
yeah.
one until now, and they're still putting out new stuff.
Yeah.
So
All right, so we'll go into the first question here. We will take. I can't show it on screen.
I can't
But
pull it up because I don't know where it is.
yeah. So I'll just read it out and who submitted it. It has to do with Far Cry and kind of where we're going with this conversation. This one's from Rashard Williams. I think I got it right this time. What does a franchise need to do in order to innovate? For example, what does Far Cry 5 do that is really different from 4, other than setting and characters? So we touched upon some of the way they changed the systems with like skinning animals, not necessarily relating to actual immediate like crafting upgrades and things like that. They changed it to a perk point system. And outside of that,
they take away like the mini map from what I've heard.
yeah, they did. They put in a compass, which I'm actually a fan of. I'm not usually a big fan of mini maps in games, unless they like the game has to justify the mini map, in my opinion. In a lot of games, don't like it. I think a great example of that for me is like The Witcher 3. I don't think that game really justified the existence of a mini map. I think it was just like screen clutter.
Yeah.
What other games do? Like, I mean, previous Far Cry games, they had actually put like X's on the map where you had killed animals, which is a big help, especially back then when you needed to skin every animal in order to get every upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the taking away from the mini map. Like Assassin's Creed Origins did it well.
Yeah. That Assassin's Creed Origins, they use the compass too, which is a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good.
Yeah, that's the one that really like grew on me for that type of stuff. So seeing that in other games too.
Yeah, no, that was originally. I don't know if it was originally, but like Skyrim used that.
Yeah.
System way back when that came out. I think Oblivion did too. So that's actually an old system that is just starting to creep forward into some more modern games. And yeah, it kind of gives it a little bit more of a free exploration, in my opinion. Like you don't have well, I guess you can't set waypoints and see them like on your screen, but it kind of like gives you be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of close to this prepper stash. I guess I'll head over there and check it out, as opposed to just going to a mini map and fast traveling somewhere. Maybe I'll walk there instead of fast traveling or something like that. So yeah, I think in terms of what do they need to innovate, I think something like that, like pathfinding, is a big thing. In a compass instead of a mini map is a good step in that direction.
Right.
Giving you a little bit more freedom than a straight line for your next objective. I think to take that in a very extreme way, that's kind of like what I enjoyed most about Breath of the Wild was the free exploration in that game. Like literally, there were no points of interest on the map. You set your own waypoints and you went wherever you wanted, and the whole game was based around you just wandering around yourself and kind of finding your own way to whatever like long-term destination you had set. And I mean that just led to they did what I was talking about before with Far Cry, a really good job of just filling in all of the empty space between point A and point B.
Yeah.
With things to do, things to find. And they made navigating it fun by allowing you to climb on everything, giving you the hang glider to just glide off cliffs and stuff like that, doing the shrines and shit like that.
To bring up with what you're saying there, we also got another question. Does any of that feel like the open world's getting a little bit too open, when you're talking about that, where the side quests are becoming better because they can be more focused versus the your actual gameplay, the main story.
So I think I don't know. Does somebody else want to go first? I feel like I'm talking.
I don't know. With that, I think they're doing a pretty good job with depending on like the scale of the game and the areas they're putting it. I haven't really found one that's been like super empty feeling. Because like I'll take for example, we'll go back to Wildlands. With all those areas, the game is huge, but it's always been fun going from like point to point, exploring places. We got real big into like the whole Yeti hunting, and we would get like information from like our buddy over in the UK because y'all would get patches first and PC would get it first. So he'd send us pictures of spots and have us try to find the spot so that when it went live over here, we could be at that spot waiting or know right where to go to see if it changed. So it just, I haven't really found one that's been like super empty feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this might be from my side more than maybe the chat's thing. I find that sometimes I find myself doing, for 70% of the time, side quest, and 30% of the time doing your main story, main quests. Do you guys run into that yourself, where you think you're doing more of a side quest for the game instead of the actual main story?
I'd say with Far Cry, it's that like doing the prepper stashes and then like the little just like events, I guess they are, just the little white squares that'll pop up, and then like you might get thrown into that story mission. That's been pretty much the only way I've been hitting story missions right now.
So basically side quests until you get thrown into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how they do have a quest menu in that game, but I'm like never in it.
Right.
I'm never looking at it. I just kind of, and again, that's not how I play open world games though. Like I want these things to organically not appear before me, but push me in a direction that's going to lead me to a mission or something like that, and then just have it happen.
So basically what you're saying,
I don't want to choose it from a list, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is it's not a linear story, it's basically plot, might lead to the end type story.
And that's kind of like probably the biggest problem for a lot of people with open world games is that their storytelling is just really bad. They can't tell a story because there's no linear progression to anything that people do in the game unless they are specifically going story beat. So like, I mean, this is a great example of the situation where and I think I know where Far Cry they tried to figure this out. So like you can go hours and hours and hours in this game and not engage at all with the story.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have a story mission that like maybe you don't remember who the characters are. Like maybe you don't remember motivations.
Merle.
Right. Or even the main villains. Like I get Joseph and John confused all the time because these characters they just disappear for hours and then they're back and I'm like, who's this guy? Oh yeah, that's right. This is this guy. This is the yes man. So what Far Cry has done is they've put a meter attached to the actions you perform in the open world. So like as you're going from location to location, you're causing trouble with the militia and taking over outposts and even doing little skirmishes and stuff like that. You're getting a little bit of progress in the regions, like I don't even know what they call it, like chaos meter, like you're disrupting the militia. And at certain points, and you can see it on the meter, that you trigger a story mission. And then that's where we were talking about earlier about where militia people come and, they hunt you down. They come and they hunt you down.
That happened to me really, really badly. I was in the middle of some side mission and got thrown into a story mission.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest problem with it, especially in this game, is that there's no explanation as to that's what's going to happen. Like there was no tutorial explaining to me that like this is how this game unfolds. So when it happened, I was so fucking confused the first time.
I was the first time too,
I was like,
because you get
what
hit
the
with this
hell is
like
going on?
trank dart.
Right. And I was like, is this going to be how the game is now? Am I just going to get trank darted? Like if I cause, is this like a 5-star rating in Grand Theft Auto where these guys are going to come down when I cause too much shit? And
And
Yeah,
you get
was-
thrown right in
Take
front
me
of the
away.
main guys too.
the
So
funny
it's not
part,
even like
That was what happened to me in the first part. I was out fishing. Some guy came up, hit me in the back of the head with a bat, and here I am in the main story. I'm like, what? I was fishing.
right. Yeah. I just want to go fishing, and these it's like it's everything. It's like I just want to go fishing, and this asshole plane keeps flying over and shooting me with a machine gun, and I'm like, listen, man, I just want to go fishing. Can I just go
Right?
fishing? Yeah, like Derek Cage says in the chat, it's very hard to compromise player agency with an open world story, and I have not played an open world game that I felt has pulled that off. Like. I mean, I guess like The Witcher 3 did a pretty good job.
I love The Witcher 3. As far as we're talking with like the story and being able to go out on your and make your own path, I love The Witcher 3 as far as that goes.
But yeah, that game though was just jam packed, so much stuff, but
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff.
it just kind of worked.
Yeah, I loved it. I actually like the fact that I'm in the middle of fishing, somebody smacked me in the head, in the back of the head, and that throws you in the story. I actually think that's a good thing, because it's like that, hey, doofus, there's still a main story going on here. The world is still turning as you're doing this. It kind of pulls you back in so that you don't forget that game is here, you know?
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's... but of course, that's another thing that I've come up with a lot is like... The world is ending, so I'll go fishing for 3 hours. Right? which is a problem with just about every single open world. And it's like maybe the problem is they're trying to tell these like end of the world stories in the context of this open world, and maybe it should be a little bit less. Maybe the stakes should be a little bit lower in these open worlds, so you can feel like you can go off and do these random things and not feel like you're abandoning some sort of crazy end of the world mission.
Right.
That's why Borderlands works, because the world's already ended. You have no compulsion to go and actually do that, so you can just fuck about. You know, there's no real kind of. You can just do whatever the hell you want. And
right,
like,
everyone else is doing.
We're already dead.
So why should,
Well, that's why I can't wait for Red Dead 2. Because it's not like an end of the world thing. It's just this is what's going on.
Right. I guess maybe that's why Red Dead Redemption is so revered.
I want to play it because of the poker. I played the first game. I'd pull up the game and I'd start playing my poker, and my wife would just sit there and watch me play poker for hours. She walked into a GameStop and she's like, "Yeah, I can't wait for Red Dead Redemption 2." And they're like, "Oh, you love playing the game?" "No, I just want to watch my husband play poker."
Yeah. He's terrible at it, but I just love watching him lose.
I'm really good at it.
Yeah, I guess that's like a good example of a open world game where the stakes were low enough that you felt like you could just wander off, and so some of the side activities in Red Dead, looking back now, are a little mundane, but like for this new one, having like almost a decade. Is that how long it's been since the first Red Dead Redemption?
I'd say about it's
another a decade worth of open world design and stuff like that.
I want to say 7 years, but yeah, somewhere around there.
See what they do, see what they do with.
Another good mention here from chat would be Final Fantasy 15 and its part not. I thought they brought those two together pretty well.
You could play it, or you could not play it.
Right.
I like that.
Tense sarcasm.
Go to your corner.
As you guys stated, you either have an open world and part non-open world. I don't like that. Final Fantasy 15 I did not like. and I'm a
Mhm.
huge Final Fantasy fan. So
Yeah. I'm not touching this one. We can talk about this.
Ryan's like, I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, I did. I played a little bit of that, and nope. If you think the planes in Far Cry 5 are annoying, then try dealing with those assholes that keep flying in on the ships and Final Fantasy 15. Like, listen, again, I'm just trying to hunt some animals here. Stop dropping in legions of assholes.
We each have our pet peeves with games. You know, mine's zombies. I'm not a zombie gamer. I can't stand them. Not my thing. But yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's all we can say about Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, all right, let's move on to another question.
As we sit here in silence as our host searches for the question.
All right, so Nicholas James Spencer writes, it's a little bit of a long one. With the ever-expanding advancement of technology, where do you feel the gaming industry should be heading? More towards making good-looking and operating better than before, or more towards writers and story-driven gameplay, or maybe into new and innovative ways to allow gamers to be more immersed in their gaming experience?
I could say something about that as far as the way I'd like to see it. I have had ideas about the way games could be. You know, let's say you rent out a warehouse, and you know how we have all these VR things right now, and everybody's walking around with VR, and you just have it in your house, but you don't really get to interact with your VR. You don't literally, like, you're sitting around with the VR, you're holding a remote, but you're not feeling the discharge of a weapon or anything, any of that stuff you're doing in a game. If they were able to make you actually feel some of the actual movements, or if you're sitting there doing sword play in a game where you can feel like you're holding a sword and doing it, that would be a good innovation. That would be a good way to pursue towards the future. That's
Speaking
what I hope for.
They do have some systems. It's like a chest thing you can wear that, like, if you get shot, it's got like the base that gives you that shot and all. So.
Yeah, you feel a pulse inside the thing, and that in of itself, I think that's where we need to be moving towards. The thing where you can kind of feel like you're in the game. VR, I don't consider what they call this VR to be VR, because it's not. It's basically just putting your screen right here on your eyes, and that's it. You're wearing headphones and putting a screen on your eyes. There's really not as much interaction. You can do your like little hand gestures in it, but the Kinect was doing that. When did the Kinect first come out? 5-6 years ago?
Wii U with glasses, isn't it? It's just Wii U with glasses. It's just Wii U with glasses. Yeah. There is no real innovation.
And so if you want to innovate towards the future, I would say, yeah, do that. So like I was talking about that warehouse, let's say you create a movable wall system where you're going through and let's say for Call of Duty, one of the biggest games, or Battlefield, one of the biggest type games that you see coming out that almost everybody buys. You create a system where you have a map set up, and let's say you have warehouses set up around in cities and so forth, and they have these VR type systems that you can go in and wear this system and feel like you're actually in the game, you know, and wear those vests that Derek was talking about, where you feel that shock of that maybe as you're getting he's down. You know, I think they'd have to take out the knife portion, of course, but other than that, you feel like you're in it.
The more I think about it, the more I'm fuck that. I don't need that.
And that's the other side of it, is that you gotta, the people that want to leave their home, kind of like you do with Pokemon Go, and all those type of games where you have to go out and walk out into the world. The people that want to leave their home and play the game, and those that, all right, now that what you sounded was cool, but I want it in my own home and I don't want to go anywhere. Type people, you know?
Yeah.
What kind of innovations would you go for, considering you like shot mine down in the dark, pun intended?
I don't know. I like I said, I like I like open worlds, so I want to see more advancements in that. Kind of like what we were just talking about. Make it make these open worlds open and like custom built at the same time, like less random generated shit and more like handcrafted stuff. Like I mean, procedural generation works okay, but it's so easy to see the seams with something like that, and that's how a lot of games are taking their generation of quote unquote infinite content is through something like that, and you can just see it too easy that way. So maybe like an advancement in something like that with a point in procedural generation where you can't tell that it's procedurally generated, that everything actually feels handcrafted. That would be kind of cool.
That would be awesome.
Like No Man's Sky or something like that, but every planet feels more. Every planet feels more.
That's the game I don't like talking about.
Well, I mean, No Man's Sky was probably the first one of these games that we're actually talking about.
It's good. I like the game. The only problem I had with that game is that you could not interact with other people the way I wanted you to. And that was a thing that bothered me. And it really is. It should be called No Other Man's Sky because there's no other man to play with. So
yeah, the social interaction in that game was exactly what I wanted it to be. Non-existent.
Damn it, Ryan. Back to your corner again.
That's Ryan's VR.
See, yeah, that's if Ryan wants to go play by himself, go play by yourself, Ryan. I mean, I like the social interaction of everybody else.
Every once in a while, you cut out for me, right? I don't know if it's happening to everybody else.
It could be my mic.
I
got my mic a little bit far away, and I keep turning to the left.
Yeah, it's almost like it just completely mutes or something like that. It's weird.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I apologize. Do you guys? I know you've seen with the Nintendo Switch those like cardboard type cutout things that they're creating. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
All right, so I mean that's not like something new. There's been those kinds of like make your own shit for a while. Either with like, I mean, you could go with things like Raspberry Pi and stuff like that, where you can build your own whatever. You can make something, you can code something like that that's does whatever the hell you want it to do. And then you have like maker spaces where more like hands-on stuff like Labo. Nintendo is just kind of like saying this is like the official Nintendo version of something that kind of already exists, but it's having our stamp of approval on it. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it's like the idea is cool anyway. Obviously, I haven't used it, but like it's not really a risk. It's something that's already been established. So I think that they're going to probably do really well with it in this kind of space and probably get a little bit more awareness of it, which I think is cool. So I think getting kids that kind of hands-on experience with programming and building and understanding how all these kinds of things can interact with each other is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, and I mean, I guess you can print out the you don't have to go and buy their cardboard. You can actually make your own stuff. They give you the templates that you can cut it out of your own cardboard, so you can save some money that way.
That I wasn't aware of. I thought you had to buy all their stuff, and it's like, why would I pay for cardboard?
Well, it's not just cardboard. You're actually getting a game with it. Like there's a game that actually goes on the Switch that allows all of this stuff to work, like the interactions with it. Like, you know, you're building a piano. There's a program on the Switch that translates I don't know how it's going to actually work.
Gestures and everything.
yeah, the gestures and anything actually into the piano keys. You know, like they have like a fishing pole game where you're going to be able to fish. You put the Joy-Con in the fishing rod, and it's like mimics your casting and stuff like that. So there's actually a game that, so you'll have to buy one set. I don't know if they're going to sell the game separately, like you can get like a digital download or something like that. But you might have to buy one set in order to get access to the game. Then after that, they have on I don't know if it's on their website or where you go, but they actually have the templates to make your own cardboard cutouts with the cardboard you may already have. Yeah, I'm gonna get one. I've got the variety pack pre-ordered.
I'm unsure whether or not I will. It's a thought and process. I might wait and see how you like it and go from there.
On a couple days a week, I do after school program at a high school. It's not high school age kids; it's like middle school kids, basically. And these are the kinds of things that a program like that would be really interested in, like getting a bunch of kids together to build something, and then actually having it be able to interact in like real life, as opposed to just a video game where it's just on a screen and yeah, there's a piano on the screen, cool, it makes noise, but getting the actual tactile feel of the keys and first step on learning how to, you know, compose music, understand how something like that works, or whatever any of the other tools are that they allow you to build. So that's why I'm personally interested in it, to see if I can incorporate it into something we do in that program. Yeah, that's why I'm excited about it.
It's not really much different though, is it? It's really just another iteration of what they did with the Wii, which is the peripherals you plonk on. You can turn your whatever. I'm assuming, like you say, with the piano, there's something, because it's a more tactile version of the Wii and Nunchuck, isn't it? It's more. I would imagine it works like you just put it in it and it. So, but it's not actually really changing much. It's just making it more disposable. So you haven't got to have the racket and the golf club on the end of your Wii thing, or your lightsaber, or so they're kind of still following on from the things, but they're
innovative,
kind of but not as well. They're kind of sticking with the same, but it's a portable Wii, isn't it? Let's be honest, the Switch. But it seems like they're also integrating that thing where it is more. It's a family thing. You can build it together.
Right.
And
I mean, there's like
that's the thing that innovates. The technology isn't. It's the thought behind it.
The practical aspect of it is like you're learning skills on how to build things. Basically, I mean, it's like how long has Lego been around? And like, there's a reason why Lego has been around for as long as it has, is because it allows kids to build whatever they have in their imagination, like actually make it happen. And that's kind of like what this, like, you have the Wii, and you could imagine that it looked like a lightsaber. You could imagine that it looked like whatever you were needing it, like a bowling ball or whatever. And this is actually, you're actually building it. You're taking the parts, you're putting it together, then it actually looks like what you're going for.
It's the antithesis of innovation, but not in a detrimental way, because it's more interactive like that, if you get what I mean. It isn't. It's still the same stuff we're doing before, but it's doing things you haven't done, but you're doing it with cardboard, which people laugh at, but it's pretty smart, I think, in a way. It's not. It's it's because it's accessible to everyone.
Right, and I mean, like, if you're gonna make stuff like this, it's good making it out of cardboard, because it's probably gonna get ruined, because the kids are gonna mess around with it. So then just replace it, because it's cardboard, right?
Print it out. You don't have to buy a brand new $60 remote piece or something.
Even that's like adding, if you can buy it yourself, or even just making it yourself as an extra step, an extra step in the process that you can take advantage of too. Like now you're doing arts and crafts, shit like
the
that.
interesting thing they could do with it is I don't know if you're aware of the game Scribblenauts.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can create what you want. If they implement that into the, what's it called again? Ludo? What the hell is it called? Labo?
Yeah.
If you incorporate that, where you create anything you want in the game, and then you could build it with the printout, and then so you can create around that after. That would be interesting because, like say, Scribblenauts, for instance, is a complete open book. It's like you can do whatever you want with that as long as you have keys. You can make anyone do whatever you want. If you could make the Labo kit itself do that, that would be interesting. And that becomes a completely new thing. That is almost like your Lego, because you could build what you want from like you could have a feedback from that maybe. So then it becomes even more creative, I guess.
Yeah.
You could create like a game creator within your lab, an editor program. So then you can link backwards and forwards, and it's really kind of, you're onto something, but with something that's pretty tangible. That would be an interesting way to go with it.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, it's no accident that some games like Minecraft are gigantic.
Yeah,
it's because kids like to build stuff.
Well, it's Lego, digital Legos.
Yeah. Right.
It's such an easy concept to laugh at, but it's pretty smart. It's the simplest idea.
It's also not specifically targeted at our demographic. We're talking about Far Cry 5, and it's the exact opposite of Far Cry 5 in a lot of ways. But it's still gaming. It's still a video game. Okay, so let's take does anybody have a question in the chat? And then we'll take one more from I think we're getting kind of late.
I've been yanking questions from the chat throughout the cast, but I mean we can wait a few seconds, see if anybody else has got any more.
With the technical stuff going on tonight, I think we're going to scrap the game, and we'll just take some more questions and we'll call it a night, if that's okay with everybody.
That sounds fine to me.
We'll do the game next time.
I'm not getting any questions as far as it goes from the chat right now. So if we have one more that we had originally, we can go with that.
If I can find one. Do you think the current industry feels stagnant? Says Brandon Daly.
I think that's kind of a really broad question.
Yeah, I think more recently we're actually seeing a little bit more innovation.
Yeah, I agree.
If you had asked me like maybe a couple years ago, I'd have a different answer. But I think we're seeing a new, some fresh ideas.
Yeah. I don't think it's too stagnant. Maybe with like your shooter genres like Call of Duty and Battlefield, that's starting to get the repetitive feel to it. But it's just going to be one of those things that's always like. But at least we get some other ones.
I think
Killzone comes in, Far Cry, and that to give you something a little bit different of an experience.
I think that question would be better reared towards developers. Which developer is stagnant and which isn't. I would say that as you stated with Call of Duty or Battlefield, and some of that seems a little bit more stagnant and just repetitive over and over again, whereas you do see some innovations with the other games like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
We
got a question here about Battlegrounds on mobile. I can touch on that a bit. I've been playing that. It's pretty fun, and it works way better than it does on Xbox or PC.
Anything works better than Xbox.
Yeah, just the player unknown's experience on there has actually been a lot of fun. Besides having a hit, I think it's like level 10 before you can actually start inviting your friends in.
Yeah,
what happens then, though? Does it then slow down to a crawl?
No, like it
No?
stays pretty smooth.
So I heard a lot about the fact that they populate the servers with bots to make you.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is target new people and kind of ease you into it. So as you start doing better and gaining better ranks, they slowly start populating it with like more and more people. From what I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Like to kind of ease you into it. What
Yeah,
about what about Fortnite? Have you played Fortnite on mobile?
Yeah, I've played a lot of Fortnite on mobile as well because I got invited to the test for it. It also links with your main account, so everything that I have on like PlayStation 4 and Xbox is there available for me in playing on the mobile, and that's played extremely well. As too. The only downfall with the two that I'm seeing right now is neither offer controller support if you have like a wireless controller for it.
Oh, that sucks.
So it's a different experience getting used to playing it on like a phone or a tablet. So once they get the controller support out of there, I think they'll both do pretty solid on mobile. And I played on my internet connection, and I played like driving up to my grandparents over the weekend. I played in the car over just my regular LTE, and it played fine, little to no lag. So I think it's going to do pretty good there.
We did have one more question from the chat, and this kind of ties back to that about the devs, patching after the fact. My words on that, as far as it goes with devs patching after the fact of a game being released, when you do release a game, the first thing is server. Stressing a server when you see the betas. You don't know how every system's going to work out with that, and you could have that anomaly here or there. You also have a different sequence when you're writing a complex code for a game and you're using things like procedurals, as Ryan brought up earlier with developing things. You don't know how that's going to work out, but sometimes you do have to patch that afterwards. I wouldn't call the devs lazy or being half-assed with that. I don't like when a patch is like 7 or 8 gigs on day one. But I wouldn't call it, like I said, I wouldn't call them lazy or half-assed, and that really depends on what developer as well.
That's more down to crunch time than laziness, if anything.
You're
we'll sort it out later down the pike.
Yep. You're given a date.
Maybe we'll talk about crunch time in depth a little bit later, because that's something I'd like to talk about. Because there's a big conversation to have about that. But yeah, I think that's what a lot of it comes down to, is eventually you got to ship a game. You can't just
for the end of the annual year.
Yeah, you can't just keep making it forever because it costs money to make. And if you don't release it, you're not making any money. And like complaining about patches is like kind of like a double-edged sword, because yeah, sure, a game launching broken can be kind of a bummer, but it also allows them to keep adding stuff afterwards. Like you can't have the good without the bad. Like, yeah, sometimes you're going to have broken games, but you're also going to get quality of life improvements over time. I mean, I think Assassin's Creed Origins is a great example. To continue with Ubisoft adding in free DLC, like that entire Egyptian exploration mode was added in for free. That would have been impossible if they weren't able to update these games post launch.
Right.
Yeah, I think
back with that too. Back to the Division, the game wouldn't be still doing as good as it is now if you weren't able to patch and update and change, because they really did take in a lot of feedback from what we were doing in the Dark Zone with PvP or outside. Without that feedback, they can't change the game. It would just be, it'll come in Division 2.
Well, that's what patches are sometimes, is it is the people coming out, and it's the players going, hey, can you guys maybe implement this in a game? Okay, let us patch it. Here you go.
Yeah, and they're definitely, like on that note too, they're definitely starting to do that a lot.
taking the voices. And you have some games that will come out where they'll crack jokes. One of my favorite day one patches is probably from the CFEs.
The day one patch. I was just gonna say.
You know, a developer, a very, very, very witty developer, decided to make an eye patch with a 1 on it for.
Well, yeah,
day
you
one
know why that
patch.
came about, right? There was a tweet about it, and somebody was joking around because the game didn't have a day one patch,
No.
and they threw that in there.
You know, so I mean, I wouldn't, like I said, and we've been talking a lot about how the games are going to change towards the future, and they are becoming larger and larger and larger and larger, and so it's a lot harder to catch all those things, and you will have to patch it. It's just such a complex program.
It's a system. It's a symptom of the games just getting bigger and bigger and bigger that they're going to need to be. They're going to need to be patched. They're going to need to be updated because things are going to be found. Things are going to be discovered. Like when you look back and like the days before patches. I mean, I remember downloading patches for PC games back in like. I remember downloading patches for Half-Life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those weren't delivered to me in a nice service like on Steam or on Xbox Live or PSN. I had to actually go to the website and download each individual one every time I had to up. So patches aren't new by any means.
They're just kind of evolving.
Yeah, in games being launched in a state that they need to be patched isn't new either.
The why patches thing is just kind of a buzz conversation, really, isn't it? Because like I said, they have always been. Maybe not for consoles. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's a bleed over from consoles.
Well, I think
they're not used to having the patches, are they? They're not used to having stuff.
I feel like we're like 10 years into this conversation of people complaining about patches. It's like it's too late.
Last generation, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? It's here, and like I said, it has both sides to it. Yeah, it sucks when your games may not be working 100% at release, but it also allows you to have all of this additional support. Like I mean, going back to No Man's Sky, imagine that game. Like that game's completely different than it is when it first launched, and all of that has been delivered through downloadable patches.
Do you think we would be having the same conversation about No Man's Sky if it was PC only?
I don't think we'd have the same conversation about No Man's Sky if it launched in early access like it should have.
Yeah. Or the same thing with something like We Happy Few's, another 100% example.
No Man's Sky was 100% an early access game that should have been $30. But Sony didn't have an early access program, and they paid a shitload of money to have that be a console exclusive.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that game came out for $60 and was presented as a retail, like a full retail launch.
I remember hearing about that game. You were really, really, really.
I'll be right back in a second.
I like that game right at launch. I put probably 50 or 60 hours into that game.
Oh, I know. I know.
At first, when it first launched, I love that game. I mean, I stopped because eventually there just wasn't enough to keep me going. And I'm going to take a look at what this new next update is that they just announced and see what they add to it.
What is it supposed to be? I asked and someone took the piss out of me.
So this is another example of and maybe we'll have a longer conversation about this too, but prior to making the announcement for No Man's Sky Next, Sean Murray, the creative director, the head of that
Jesus
studio,
Christ, there we go.
Tweeted out and said that, hey, this is going to get leaked anyway, so we're going to get ahead of it. No Man's Sky Next is coming in the summer. So their hand was forced in announcing this too early. So that's why there isn't a whole lot of information about it. If you look at the timing on that tweet, it was 10 minutes before Kotaku posted an article about it. The timestamp. So that happens, in my opinion, too frequently, and that's why we have a lot of this kind of bullshit going on where, like, how come there's no information about this? How come you're being vague? And it's like, well, because some jerk out there is
Yeah.
leaking this information, and you know, PR cycles aren't ready to announce this information. So
Yeah.
you get incomplete information, and you're confused. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You're like, what is this supposed to be? It's like, well, they may not know exactly what it's supposed to be yet, so they're not going to tell you. They've been down that road before.
Yeah.
They're not going to make that same mistake again.
On top about next, you should have called it No Man's Sky, maybe.
Right. Someone's Sky?
Maybe. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. I don't think that's got the same buzz to it, though.
Right. Meh.
You could. No Man's Sky. You could.
Meh.
Edition.
No Man's Sky. Meh. B.
Maybe someday Sky. Maybe someday Sky.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that.
All right.
We did get quite a few more questions in chat, but I figured.
All right, let's take one more question. I'll let you choose, Red.
All right, so one of the questions was about the royalty. You got Final Fantasy 15. We come back to that again. They were asking about the Royal Edition. Why should we have to pay for something that a lot of us went and pre-ordered before? How do you feel about that? About the release of a new edition of a current game or a game that's released within the last couple of years?
Who's making anybody pay for anything?
So some people, I know I bought Final Fantasy 15. I got the collector's edition and everything. And from what they're saying on here, they had to pay for new content even after they paid for a season pass.
Okay, yeah, that happens a lot. A season pass covers a certain amount of content, and then after that,
you get like part 2
DLC packs.
Resi 7 did it.
Personally, I think a season pass. I don't think it should be called season pass. It should be called anything past the Game Pass. And I honestly believe that.
What? You broke up there.
I said I believe that anything like that shouldn't be called a season pass. It should be anything past the Game Pass. I personally don't believe that you should have to pay for any content past that. If you got more content to add to a game, release another game. Don't.
Well, I mean, I guess that's where it comes down to is you don't have to. Like, no one's forcing you to buy.
Yes, but at the same point, you still have that type of extra content for the game that isn't exactly free for you. And you know, when you buy the game, you want the whole encompassing thing, and you spend $100 or with a collector's edition like Final Fantasy 15, like I got $300 on a game, and then they're like, all right, cough up $40 more for this next DLC. I just spent.
Did you pay $300 for a game, or did you pay $300 for a statue?
I buy the art books. Usually, the reason I pay for that is for the art books that you get with the collector's edition, because I draw and do a lot of those things, and I like using the art books. But it's also to get that extra content. Like those that bought that specific edition got an extra mission that wasn't available for everybody else. So,
is it an integral mission though? Does it add to? Is it like a Azura's Wrath, where it's like that's the end of the game, you have to play it additionally?
No, it's just extra content. Like, I mean, you know, that you might get.
It looks like here that I was looking it up because I wasn't really. I thought the Royal Edition was more geared towards like the PC players that were just coming into, where everything's there because it includes the game, it includes the season pass, it includes the new stuff, and it's only $49.99.
Yeah, I'm just bringing you the questions that were brought to me on the chat.
No, and like as far as an upgrade to that, I'm not really sure, but while we're maybe take another question, I'll look at it.
As far as that goes, I mean, if you want a Royal Edition, it's a name, it's a stamp to say it's a different type of game. I don't.
It's like Game of the Year edition or something, right?
Yeah, that's what it exactly looks like.
You know,
Platinum edition or whatever. It's at a discounted price.
Yeah, and you can
Ooh.
almost always, if you wait long enough, you're going to see a sale for one of these editions.
And it's not like there's, I don't know anything about this Royal Edition, but there isn't
don't
like
either.
stuff that you can only get from this Royal Edition, right? You can go out and you can buy that extra content separately if you already own the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Okay, pulling up the PlayStation Store goes.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is between the Royal Edition and the other one. So
Like
I can't tell you
like
that.
for like the whole edition thing, as far as if you were buying the game fresh, the Royal Edition is like your Game of the Year or your Ultimate Edition. It's everything. But I know it was mainly geared towards like the PC players that were just getting the game.
Well, yeah, and also it was confusing too because they had this Royal Edition, and then they had the Windows version is specifically called Windows Edition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's confusing there too. Where when I was first reading up on it, I was like, "Is this the same thing or is it different?"
I mean, it might go into a whole different conversation, but I heard if Final Fantasy 15 flopped with them, that it might have put Square Enix in a bit of a bind. So it might be a way to just try and milk a little bit more money from, gamers. So.
Yeah, I think what a lot of this comes down to is like we got to be, as gamers, and I don't care if this isn't popular or not, we have to open up our wallets a little bit more, be willing to do that, or else things like microtransactions, and, I don't know, like different editions of games are going to keep happening.
I've got it pulled up here.
Because
it looks like to upgrade to the Royal Edition, if you own everything already, it's $15. It's adding a new map location, the first person, the power-up combat mode, the open sea exploration with fishing spot recipes and a boat, and Regalia Type D new acquisition enhancement. So it's like your Season Pass Part 2 if you own everything already. Because they already did put a ton of DLC. So I wouldn't put them that far. Charging $14 for this next set of thing, it's like your Season Pass too. And they're still saying that more stuff on the original Season Pass is going to come out as well too. So.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, kind of like perspective, how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the whole DLC conversation has happened, and but unless there's like super egregious examples, which a lot of times, like I don't even know if there are any, like people like to like into the world these kinds of things, like well, all the stuff's already on the disc or something like that, and then that's never proven to be true.
Right.
And like, yeah, maybe there are some assets on the disc because, yeah, they were planning on the DLC before the game shipped, but like the game had to ship.
Yep.
Here we are.
Go ahead, Lee.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, then like you got companies like Capcom that just did Monster Hunter World and everything's coming out for free. So you give some, take some.
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be something, something you pay for in that game eventually. I have to imagine that maybe they'll release a big expansion for it or something.
Should live up to their word. Hopefully not.
A whole new world, or like a whole new like place to explore, because they haven't announced anything like that. They just announced like more monsters and shit, right?
Yeah.
So maybe in like in the winter or something, the holiday, they put out an expansion. It's like a whole new region or something like that. And they charge like $20 for it or something. I mean, even if they weren't planning it from the start, they'd be stupid not to, because of how fucking popular that game is.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna put something else out. They're not just gonna be like, okay, we're done.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, so we're wrapping it up here. That means we got to announce the winner of the best question. The winner for a copy of A Way Out on whatever platform they choose. What do we think? What?
Are you talking about the questions that we got from
All of them.
Facebook or all?
I think it's
All of
all
them.
in general.
What do you think the best question was?
Mm.
That one's kind of hard to answer. I'm trying to remember who asked the question. Going back into the chat to see who asked the question that I was thinking of, at least.
Yeah, with the taking questions from the probably got to figure out a better way to take questions from the chat.
Mm-hmm. I would say that, and I know most of the questions came from Derek on the chat. One of the ones I liked was the question about the open worlds. You know, them getting a little bit side quests and open worlds and so forth.
Mm.
Which one was that? Who asked that?
Derekage. Does anyone feel that the open worlds are getting too open? Side quests becoming better because they become more focused. I think it brought a good little conversation with us regarding how we feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had some questions from Facebook as well, but I do not have those pulled up currently at the moment. If you happen to have those, might be a little bit easier with those as well. I apologize, everybody viewing. We're currently looking for the questions.
Yeah, trying to go back, and I had refreshed at one point, so I have like half a chat here.
Yeah, that's what mine did. I only had half of it, and it came up on here.
While we're waiting, Ryan, what are you waiting for at PAX? Yes. What are you waiting for at PAX?
PAX. Yeah, so we've got a lot of interview PAX. We've got. I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned it on talking or in the chat. Where I'm going to be talking to the developers of Frostpunk, which is coming out this month. It's like a indie city builder game.
Okay.
And we've got another couple of interviews with some other people from that publisher, as well as interviews from Team 17, who's another indie developer, indie publisher. They got
Team 17. Christ, that's going back. They're the Worms people.
They're from your neck of the woods, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been going since the Amiga days.
Yep, they're actually a publisher. They're actually a publisher now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they do most of the publishing. You know what? I think now that I'm looking at it, I think we had a pretty good conversation with this conversation about advancements in video gaming.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. Because I think isn't that what kind of led into our open world talk?
Yeah, we talked about VR. We talked about Labo.
Yeah.
So do we all think that's probably?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know
who
asked that question?
Yeah, that was Nicholas James Spencer.
Yeah.
He asked it on the Facebook. On the Facebook page. So we will be in contact. Is he in the chat? I'm not sure if he's watching.
Well, I don't know if he's watching or not. I can't identify these people based on their chat names.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking if he's in the chat. If not, we'll reach out to you on Facebook, and we'll figure out if you want PS4, Xbox, or PC for your copy of A Way Out, which I think we would have probably talked about that game, but I don't know if any of us played it on here. Maybe
No.
Derek did.
Which game?
What game? Sorry.
A Way Out.
Oh, wait.
I have it, but haven't taken a smack at it yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've been jumping back and forth between games, Assassin's Creed, or the pirate game, Sea of Thieves, and Far Cry. So
yeah, I might eventually get it, but like I mentioned before, I started playing the Final Fantasy TCG. Finish off my deck. Wait.
Oh yeah.
That's an expensive little habit right there.
Yeah, 36 cards for $220.
I'm aware.
All right, that's gonna do it for. Actually, I have no control over this because Red's in charge.
Suckers.
We could technically go on forever, I guess.
All right. Well, I guess we say toodles. Goodbye. Catch you guys next time.
Yes, we will. So, tentatively planning to do something next week. On Thursday, probably, which is our normal day. Hopefully, I've got my stuff figured out, but in the meantime, we'll get one of these other lovely co-hosts set up to do a backup stream if necessary.
We'll definitely make sure that happens.
Yeah, we'll be back talking about PAX East. So if you have any questions about that, you can start thinking them up, and I'll be making a post to solicit questions about that. And anything else you got on your mind? We'll take anything. Doesn't even have to be
And
gaming.
spread the word too. We'd like to definitely get some more people in here. Chat's definitely been super talkative this time, so that's been awesome.
Yeah, that's important. Getting people in the chat, talking amongst themselves, lets us talk about our thing, and also then take suggestions from the chat for questions and directions of the conversation.
Right? Even topic too. If you don't have like a direct question, leave us a topic that you want to hear about.
Yeah. Spread the word. Get your friends in here.
All right, you guys heard it.
Give stuff away. We give you free stuff. Like, come on.
Exactly.
What more do you want? We can't do anything.
All you got to do is listen to us babble on for a bit about stuff
Right.
that
And then
relates to you.
Eventually we give you something.
Well, you guys heard it here. I wouldn't say first, but foremost. And I guess we'll catch you guys later.
All right. Peace.
Later.